Friday, April 4, 2025, Day 3 of Trump's trade nuclear war, 3 top headlines. China launches full-scale retaliation, a global trade war erupts. Markets continue plunging, a media cry, economic suicide. Fed Chair Powell makes it official, as stagflation fears loom. This is episode 2 in the 4-part series on Trump's tariff war. A sharp and deep dive. What Trump did. 2. Where Trump got it wrong. 3. Why he's doing it anyway. 4. What can be done. All 3 major U.S. stock indexes plummeted over 6%, just a hair away from the 7% circuit breaker. Meanwhile, the VIX Fear Index is nearing the panic levels of the 2008 Great Recession and the 2020 pandemic. 3 Republican-triggered crises, 2 under Trump. Powell says the tariff war's impact on both the economy and inflation is worse than expected. Uncertainties deepen. Like everyone else, the Fed is in wait-and-see mode and will keep the benchmark interest rate at 4.3% for the coming months. The worst-case scenario? Stagflation, low growth and high inflation, the Fed's nightmare of nightmares. March job creation looks solid, but the data only goes up to mid-March. Unemployment has ticked up. Soaring uncertainty is chilling investment and threatening jobs. People and households feel the economy through lived experience, income, expenses, jobs, prices. Macroeconomic health relies on hard data, leading and lagging indicators that show up before and after economic turning points. Leading indicators, like stock indexes, consumer confidence, and broad money supply M2, help forecast where the economy is going. Lagging indicators, like unemployment, CPI, corporate profits, confirm where it's been. Both the Fed and corporate America are rattled. The data is clear, the good times are over. We're entering a phase of uncertainty and downside risk. JP Morgan is already forecasting a recession, with inflation rising alongside it. Trump, who's filed for bankruptcy 6 times, has finally become the greatest economic disaster in American history. A market poison pill. This isn't economic suicide. It's homicide. Trump is deliberately murdering the U.S. economy and brutalizing the global one. Trump claims it'll be over soon. Big revolution brings big prosperity. Supporters nod along, calling it necessary pain. But is that a fair claim? Is a global tariff war the right move? What will the consequences be? Short answer. Best case, short-term gains, long-term harm. Worst case, a total backfire, total defeat, no winners. There are 2 ways to test this. One is to wait and see the results, but Trump's first term already gave us the preview. The other is to return to first principles, to basic logic, and uncover the truth. Trump seduces voters with the lure of short-term gains. Manufacturing coming home. Forcing trade partners/competitors to make concessions. Short-term boost to government revenue. But he never mentions the costs and sufferings. Higher prices, worsened inflation. Supply chain chaos. Global markets in risk-off mode, capital fleeing. Allies hitting back with countermeasures. Rivals ramping up domestic production consumption, import substitution, diversifying markets, realigning supply chains, bypassing the dollar. Every American loses. Yet many have been duped into believing him. Ordinary consumers paying more, earning less. Farmers, automakers, tech firms, all targeted by retaliatory tariffs. Stock market shocks and crashes shake investor confidence. Economic growth stalls, GDP and GNP shrink. Market confidence falls, financial risk surges. Allies forced to pick sides, creating tension. Capital markets rattle, safe haven gold surges. Rule abuse undermines U.S. credibility. Dollar's trustworthiness falters, weakening its role in global trade. Production costs remain high, companies can't or won't come back home. This trade nuclear war is all about short-term political gain, at the expense of American interests and long-term strategic positioning. He wins by inflaming voter sentiments. But America loses as the global economic order shifts against it. If the costs so clearly outweigh the benefits, why bulldoze this through? Is it reckless ignorance? Or calculated destruction? To answer that, we need to dismantle Trump's slogan. Eliminate the trade deficit to revive America. Trump claims that America's trade deficit gravely harms national interests. That claim doesn't hold much water. Even countries where the U.S. has a balanced trade relationship, or even a surplus, have been slapped with tariffs by Trump. He's even targeted uninhabited islands. Clearly, this isn't just about trade deficits. So the whole premise is wrong. Is it ignorance? Or intentional deceit? First, Trump crudely equates the trade deficit with the current account deficit, a fundamental error. In simple terms, a country's balance of payments has three major components: capital account, financial account, and current account. The current account includes trade in goods and services, primary income, wages, interest, dividends, secondary income, remittances, foreign aid, etc. Trump fixates on the goods trade deficit, just one slice of the current account. He ignores the full picture. If you only look at the goods trade balance, you dramatically underestimate America's true external position. In actuality, America has huge surpluses in services and investment income that largely offset the goods deficit. The goods deficit and foreign capital inflows complement and balance each other. But Trump never mentions the capital surplus. He confuses the public, because he himself is confused, or because he wants to confuse others. The real story behind the trade deficit. America has run a goods trade deficit for years. We'll get back to this later. That in itself doesn't mean the economy is unhealthy. It simply means the US attracts large inflows of foreign direct investment and portfolio investment to finance its consumption and investment needs, fueling growth and boosting productive capacity. It's a dynamic equilibrium. Because trade involves currency, there's constant interaction between trade balances, exchange rates, and capital flows. Quick rundown. More exports, stronger currency. More imports, weaker currency. A stronger dollar hurts exports, while a weaker dollar stimulates exports and discourages imports. This is currency's self-correcting mechanism. Dizzy yet? We'll skip the technicals here for now. America's long-running trade deficits attract global capital. The US dollar is the world's leading reserve currency, so massive foreign investment supports its value. This enables America to borrow and spend without immediate consequence, forming a self-reinforcing triangle. Trade deficit, capital inflow, strong dollar. This only works because the world trusts America's economy, institutions, and policy stability. Ironically, the very goods trade deficit Trump uses as his punching bag is actually a symbol of America's strategic financial advantage. Economists call it dollar hegemony. Take that away, and what's left? Trump and his allies claim the trade deficit has hollowed out American manufacturing and that it must be reversed and revitalized. They argue that imposing ultra-high, sweeping tariffs to eliminate the trade deficit is both necessary and sufficient for revival. It sounds inspiring, but reality is far more complicated. American manufacturing faces structural disadvantages. High costs across the board, labor, electricity, environmental compliance, all significantly higher than in Asia. Aging blue-collar workforce, skills lag behind, and fewer young Americans want to take up blue-collar jobs, especially low-end manual labor. Globalized supply chains, supporting industries have long since relocated. You can't just bring them back with a slogan. Even if some manufacturing does return, it won't revive employment in a big way as hoped. Modern manufacturing is increasingly automated and capital-intensive. New factories won't necessarily mean massive hiring. The COVID-era shortages of basic products were serious, but moving production back to the US would be deeply unprofitable. Who's going to take on guaranteed losses? During Trump's first term, he kept promoting coal and oil jobs. But America's entire coal industry has barely 50,000 jobs, while clean energy in California alone added over 200,000 jobs in a single year. This isn't just a policy debate, it's a clash of worldviews. Looking backward versus looking forward. So how do you really rebuild manufacturing strength? Not by going backward, but by upgrading. America's greatest strength is innovation, and it leads the world. New ideas, models, industries, and frontiers, these are what drive the next wave of growth. Digging coal and drilling oil? No future. No growth. No jobs. A coal miner's son won't go back to mining. And oil rigs are increasingly automated. Labor force upgrades, especially in manufacturing, require investments in education and retraining. Blue-collar workers deserve respect and protection. But when a job is obsolete, what's the right response? Guarantee the right to keep mining coal? How would that be guaranteed? With what resources? Car manufacturing is becoming automated. That clashes with union demands. What's the solution? Tariffs? Isolationism? A full-spectrum safety net? J.D. Vance tells the story of hollowed-out communities after factories left. But what now? Ban closures? Force companies to return? Maybe possible 200 years ago or under planned economy, not today, not here. America first shouldn't mean American isolation. American prosperity won't come from reversing history. Vance's mother was a nurse, one of the most in-demand and decently paid professions in America. But she spiraled into drug abuse and a messy personal life. Vance himself served in the military, went to school, made money, went into politics. He once tried to invest in his home state, but didn't succeed. So maybe the real issue isn't just jobs or investment. The economy and society are transforming. This requires market forces, individual adaptation, and public support. Vance ultimately left his hometown. That's one form of adaptation. America also needs a stable policy environment and global trust, its greatest strategic advantages. None of this comes from trade wars or nationalistic slogans. It takes multi-generational investment, institutional reform, global cooperation, and leadership. America has led the world all along, without needing to scream America first. One viewer left a comment pointing to the Biden-era boom in corporate and industrial investment. New technologies, new capacity, high-wage jobs, and a new generation of high-skilled labor. New development. New future. New growth. Trump's so-called rebuilding of U.S. manufacturing leadership is not a national strategy, it's a campaign slogan. He's driving forward by looking in the rearview mirror. His bombastic rhetoric might create short-term headlines. But from the standpoint of global capital and technology planning, his approach, forcibly dragging production back, isn't just inefficient. It actively damages America's manufacturing future. And don't forget, America relies heavily on global markets, defense, agriculture, high-end services, IT, and more. Who has the power to kill globalization? Who dares to abandon global markets? So now we understand the facts. Why, then, is Trump still forcing this path? What, exactly, are Trump and his allies really trying to overthrow? We'll dig into that in the next episode. What do you think? Comments, questions, pushback, all welcome. If you like this, please subscribe and share. Thanks for watching Zindom USA. I'm Feng Ming. See you next time.